2 teen mystery drama shows and 2 recent kids shows from Apple Plus TV. Let's talk television. Hey everybody, Dan here, and this is Dan Reviews It. Welcome to this week's TV news and reviews. I know we just did one about 5 days ago, but trying to catch up here before the end of the year. I got a little backlogged, I guess, I don't know, sometime over the summer maybe, but I'm a couple episodes short for the year, so I figured let's catch up a little bit and do 4 new shows this week. And that means there's not a whole lot of news to cover either, so this should actually be a fairly quick show. But we do have 2 shows in the teen mystery drama thriller type of genre. That is The Wilds over on Amazon Prime and Tiny Pretty Things on Netflix, and then over to Apple TV Plus for a couple of recent kids shows. And that's pretty much going to be it. But we do have a little bit of news to go over. Not a ton, but a bunch of renewals just in the last couple of days. I guess maybe people wanting to get their business done before Christmas hits. So on Netflix, you've got Virgin River renewed for Season 3. Season 2 just premiered a few weeks ago, I guess. And obviously the results have been very good over there, so they're continuing on with Season 3. And then an early renewal on Netflix for Lock and Key. This is a show that I really enjoyed when I saw the first episode, I don't know when, I guess early this year, or maybe very late last year, but Season 2 has not even premiered yet. That will be in January, but they've already given an early pickup for Season 3, so obviously another, home run there for Netflix. But usually, in true Netflix fashion, they will, dissolve a show, cancel it after about 3 years. So, for fans of these 2 shows, take what you can get here, because this could be the third and final season for these shows. Speaking of third and final, HBO has announced a third and final season of His Dark Materials, and that is going to premiere, I guess, sometime next year. They're just wrapping up Season 2 over the air right now, so obviously, we're a good amount of time away from Season 3, but they're going to wrap it with Season 3, and that's one that I enjoyed, but it's not really in my wheelhouse, so I never continued with it, but I did certainly enjoy the episode that I saw for review. One of the shows that we're reviewing this week has already been renewed, and that's The Wilds. It just premiered about a week and a half ago on Amazon, but already it's got a great buzz around it. Critically, it's doing very, very well. We'll talk about how I feel about it, but that will be coming back for Season 2 already. And AP Bio, Season 4 of AP Bio on Peacock. This was, of course, originally on NBC. Then it moved to Peacock for Season 3, which was 8 episodes long. And now it is really Peacock's first original renewal, because they canceled Brave New World, and they don't really have a lot of other shows. Most of their shows thus far of the new variety have come from the BBC or Sky One or something like that. So it's sort of out of their hands whether it gets renewed or not. The original network will renew it or won't renew it. So really, AP Bio is the first original Peacock show to be renewed, which is very cool. I enjoyed the show. I haven't seen the Peacock season yet, but I watched the first 2 that were on NBC, and Glenn Howerton from Always Sunny stars in it. Very enjoyable if you like his sort of sensibilities and the Always Sunny type of humor. Let's see. So not a renewal, but a pickup. 5 more episodes are coming of the Chuck Lorre show, Be Positive. I did not care for this show, but it is, one of the big hits of the fall season. There hasn't really been many original shows on in the fall. Most of the ones that have aired have been from other places like Canada or other channels like Spectrum Originals, but Be Positive obviously doing well enough. And look, the Chuck Lorre shows usually do on CBS, so no surprise there. But it was originally slated for 13 episodes. They are topping it off now with 5 more to have 18 episodes. And real quick, before I continue with the renewals, I did just read an article talking about the whole fall season and kind of what a bust it's been for the networks, not through any fault really of their own, but because of all the COVID stuff, they couldn't premiere new things when they wanted to. And so even the shows that were up and running, usually shows will premiere for the fall, even shows that have already been on the air, not just new shows, in like the 3rd or 4th week of September. And here most shows didn't get off the ground till late October, if not November. So most of the shows have only run like 3 to 6 episodes before the fall is over, and won't be returning until at least like mid-January. So in TV time, that is a long time to not have new episodes on the air. So the ratings are down about a quarter from this time last year, and so that makes some of the newer content stick out a little bit more because it is the only thing that's new. So be positive. The ABC show Big Sky has been doing very well, and Fox's I Can See Your Voice has been doing very well. Now, granted, it has a great lead-in with The Masked Singer, but would it have been performing quite as well if the fall lineup was actually full of new episodes? I don't know. It's hard to tell. But yeah, it was an interesting read anyway. But the only other 2 things I have aren't quite, they're renewals of sorts, but follow me on it. So the first one is that Kids Say the Darndest Things is coming back for a 2nd season with Tiffany Haddish. However, it was canceled by ABC like 9 months ago. The last new episode aired in January, but CBS has decided to pick it up for a new run next year that will start sometime in early 2021. I don't know when exactly. I don't know if they filmed any yet. But Tiffany Haddish will be returning to host, and CBS is the home for that show for the last 70 years. It started in radio in the 40s with Art Linkletter. He brought that on TV into the 50s and 60s, and then Cosby did an iteration in the 90s, and then this last season was the only season ever to not be on CBS. It was on ABC. So, kind of makes sense that CBS would want to sort of reclaim all of their, their intellectual property, I guess. But, look, because of COVID, networks are really looking to expand a lot of their stuff. NBC is going to be running a lot more game shows, which I love. And this is a cheap show to produce that you can produce with COVID, protections in place. So that will be coming to CBS. And then the other one that I thought was very interesting, so The Flight Attendant was renewed for Season 2 on HBO Max. Well, that was supposed to be a limited series, and obviously the response has been huge. The critical response has been great. I really enjoyed it as well. I'm in the majority there, and it's brought a lot of people, I guess, to HBO Max. I guess they can figure out, subscribers and how quickly they subscribe from the time it takes them to watch The Flight Attendant. I don't know the metrics, but obviously they figured out it works for them, and the limited series will now be a regular series. And Kaylee Cuoco said, jokingly, well, everything's a limited series, and then if it fails and gets canceled, you say, oh, that was just a limited series, and if it does well, then you become a real series and you're in Season 2. Obviously, that's tongue-in-cheek, it's a bit glib. It was marketed as a limited series, but, like The Watchmen on HBO was marketed, I think, as a regular series, but then after it got canceled, well, not canceled, I mean, it was obviously a huge hit for HBO, so I can't say it got canceled, but, the creators, Damon Lindelof and Carlton Cuse, kind of wanted to move on and said, look, we told the story we wanted to tell, and HBO opted to not go forward without them, so it became a limited series, and whatever. But so this is now, and this has happened before. I mean, I can't remember what the name of it was. Was it called The Starter Wife? There was a show with Grace from Will and Grace, and it was it was like a mini series or something on, I think, USA, and then it did so well for them that they decided to make it into a regular series. I think the same thing might have happened with Downton Abbey, because I feel like the first season Downton Abbey was on, I think at the Emmys it was in all the limited series categories. And then obviously, it grew from there. So it certainly does happen, probably more than we realize, but I just thought that was odd because they were really touting it as a limited series. And based on the first 2 episodes that I saw, I mean, once the mystery wraps up of who killed this dude in the hotel room, I don't know. I mean, obviously, maybe there's another mystery at foot, or maybe it's just about their lives in season 2. I don't know, but it'll be interesting. I'll be watching, I guess. And then for this week in reboots, this is an interesting one. So, All My Children, the 43-year long-running soap opera, ended in 2011 on ABC. They ended that, and what was the other one? One Life to Live, the same year. But Kelly Ripa and Mark Consuelo's husband and wife team, who both got their starts on the soap All My Children, have decided to produce a revival, but it's going to be, this is interesting, a primetime revival just set in the same universe, in the same world. It's not going to be called All My Children, it's going to be called Pine Valley, which is the name of the town that this took place in. And it's not necessarily unheard of. It might be unheard of to do a primetime show, but I know General Hospital spun off Port Charles for a while on ABC Daytime. I don't know if that's still on anymore, but anyway, so that will be, coming at some point, I guess, down the line, maybe next fall. But look, primetime soaps usually do pretty well, especially if they already have sort of a built-in audience. I imagine that they're going to revive a lot of the long-standing characters from All My Children. I don't know that show very well. I don't watch it, never have, but soap operas usually do have some characters that stick around for 10, 15, 20 years, so it's only 9 years later from the cancellation. I imagine a lot of those characters are probably still surfacing in Pine Valley. So, for All My Children fans, obviously that will be very interesting. So, without further ado, let's move into the reviews. I told you this will be fairly quick, this episode, which is just fine. But let's start with The Wilds. Obviously, it's been renewed already for season 2, so it is, really raring to go here over on Amazon. And this essentially is a Lord of the Flies or Lost type of show, except it's all females. It's, I guess Lost was more gender neutral. Lord of the Flies, obviously all boys. This is all girls. In fact, it's girls that were headed to this boarding school program or whatever called Dawn of Eve. It was really like a retreat program in Hawaii, and the plane crashes on the way there, so they find themselves on a deserted island. And we find something out at the end of the first episode that I will not reveal. I don't do spoilers here on my TV reviews, but I don't exactly know what is going on in this show after the end of the first episode, because it's a really juicy cliffhanger that you just are like, okay, well now I need to know what's actually happening. So I watched episode 2 of this, which I've been doing that lately, since I've only been reviewing 4 shows typically the last few weeks instead of the usual 6. I've been spending more time with most of these shows, so I did watch a full 2 episodes of this, and it doesn't really get any more clearer. In fact, the cliffhanger doesn't even really get brought up again in season 2. So I imagine throughout the 10-episode arc, it will rear its head many more times. But so that makes the show a mystery type of program as well as a drama and maybe a thriller too, I guess you could say. But right now, it's mostly dramatic. There's a lot of back and forth with the girls. There's a lot of sort of friendship making and a little bit maybe of backstabbing and da-da-da-da-da. So a few things that are really good right off the bat about this program is that most of the girls that they got for this show, who are pretty much no names. I mean, the only person I even recognize in the cast is Rachel Griffiths, who I know from, what was she in, 6 Feet Under, I think? Yeah, I don't know. Is that what she's from? I don't know what I know her from then. Oh yeah, 6 Feet Under. Okay, there you go. Thank you, Wikipedia, for burying that. I think she's pretty famous for 6 Feet Under, and it didn't appear right away on her thing. I'm like, maybe I have the wrong person, but no, that's her. But a lot of these girls, I don't know. Just I'll throw some of their names out: Sophia Ali, Shannon Berry, Jenna Claus, Rain Edwards, Helena Howard, Mia Healy. These are not names I know, and I didn't really recognize any of the girls either. But most of them do a really solid job, and it's combined with good writing too. But you really get a sense for everybody's character within that first episode or two, and they're not even caricatures. Like, you don't just know them because they're, she's the sporty one and she's the nerd and she's whatever. No, like they're definitely more defined than that, which I really liked. The worst actress on the show, and this is a minor spoiler, but it happens like halfway through episode 1. The worst actress of the bunch dies, her character. So, because I was thinking like, man, everybody's pretty good, but she's just kind of on my nerves. And then she died. So, okay, great. Now we can move on. So everybody is doing really a pretty good job, and the writing seems to be fairly consistent with how teenagers actually speak, and not how some 40, 50-year-old writer or producer thinks they should speak. And I'm not saying that they're overly hip. It's not like Juno where it's super hip or anything. And there's a sort of a little side story about the singer Pink, which I think is a little bit odd, but whatever. But the drama aspect of this is really good so far. I've really been enjoying that. The camaraderie I've been enjoying. As for the bad, well, obviously we've tackled this territory before with a few other things, and many people have tried to imitate the success of Lost, whether it be, tonally, or similar themes, or doing the whole like, oh, let's get to know these people as they are now and then look at their backstories. Not that they, of course, invented the backstory on Lost, but I think it was pretty inventive how they did it. Each episode we sort of learn about a different person and da-da-da-da-da. They do that a little bit here as well, except it's a few different people per episode, and some of it's in flashbacks and some of it is in flash forwards, so we obviously know that at least some of the girls do get off of this island eventually. Because we see them being interviewed. In fact, I think it might be the first scene of the first episode is one of the gals being interviewed and sort of explaining what was going on the island a little bit. So we get that sort of amalgamation. But anyway, there have been a lot of imitators of Lost. This is certainly one of the better ones that I've seen. And it's interesting that it got a season 2. Hopefully they have an outline of what that means, because obviously, as we sort of know, the people at Lost got sort of lost, halfway through the series and didn't really know where things were going. So hopefully this is a little more laid out than that. But the central mystery is barely touched on in these first 2 episodes. So obviously it factors in, heavier a little bit later on in the season, which I'm kind of okay with, because I do like that we're getting to know these girls so well. So I leave The Wilds with a B+. So up next we have our other teen drama, and this is over on Netflix, Tiny Pretty Things. And essentially this is taking place at a ballet academy, and this has a mystery element too, because in either the first or second scene of the first episode, somebody falls from their high apartment, 5th, 6th, 7th floor, who knows, I don't really remember, but she's dead. So then they replace her at the ballet, but what happened to her? How did she die? Was she killed? Did she commit suicide? Many questions that I personally couldn't care less about. This show is garbage. They really tackle the sex portion. Every other scene is a sex scene. It's almost like softcore porn at that point. And so we don't know anything about any of these characters. I know they all enjoy sex. That's all I got. But in comparison to the Wilds, where people are pretty defined in an episode or two, I barely made it through this first episode of Tiny Pretty Things. It's just garbage. Now, I will say that there isn't really much dancing in the first episode because we're really just getting to the ballet, and we're starting, and we're going to start a new ballet, I guess in honor of this dead girl. But we don't see a lot of dancing. I would imagine that there's probably some good dancing sequences at some point in this series, but I certainly have no interest in getting to that point because the acting's okay, but the writing is just horrible. It's just the trashiest of shows. I mean, it's almost like those reality shows where they just want everybody to hop into bed with each other. That's all this was. And I mean, look, I'm far from a prude. Anybody that knows me knows that. But like, this is it's just laughable. Like, okay, this person's sleeping with this person. Oh, and this person, oh, well, he's bi, so he sleeps with everybody. And, it's just like, all right, that's fine. But, like, I have porn for that. Like, I can watch porn if I want to see that. I watch TV because I like storylines, and I like character development, and I like, if there's a mystery element, there's this dead girl. Why don't we explore that a little bit? And see maybe why she's dead, or who killed her, or who had motivation. Like, we don't even know. Nobody's even a suspect by the end of the first episode because it's such an afterthought on this show. Why even have it? Just call it the sex show with some dancing and a murder. Like, that's basically what it is. I really am teetering here on an F or a D. I don't typically fail shows. I failed, I think, 2 shows so far this year. But there's just nothing redeeming about this show. Like the acting is okay, but they're given nothing to work with. And here again, I don't really know any of the people. I think Lauren Holly is the only name I know in this show. Let me see here. Lauren Holly plays the director of the school, and I didn't see this in the first episode, but her description on Wikipedia says the director of the ballet, blah blah blah, who is secretly sleeping with Caleb. So even she's sleeping with somebody. And he's one of the dancers. So there's your drama. Look, if you love soapy type of dramas with a lot of sex, I honestly think there's better ones out there with better scripts than this. I can't recommend this. I have to fail it. So there you go. I told you this would be a quick episode because there isn't even much to say about this. It's just garbage. All right, so let's talk about now. Oh, let's talk about some good shows here. So Apple TV Plus, there's 2 recent animated kid shows within the last month or so. Doug Unplugs is one, and Stillwater is the other. Now they're both based on kids' books that I'm very much not familiar with. Doug Unplugs is the I think it's a book series. Let me see. I don't know. Is it a series? I don't know. But Stillwater is actually based on a book. Doug Unplugs on the Farm. Okay, so maybe there is a couple of different books. All right. Well, anyway, that's a DreamWorks show, and then you've got Stillwater, which is based on a book that's not called Stillwater. It's called Zen Shorts, or Zen Ties, rather. Or no, there's 2 books. Zen Shorts is one, and Zen Ties is the second one. But it follows basically the same pattern as the books. You've got this bear called Stillwater. He's a big panda bear, and there's these 3 kids that live next door to him, basically. One is, I don't know the ages from the show, but without looking it up, I would probably say the youngest is maybe 5 or 6, and then there's 2 that are tween age, probably 9 to 12, somewhere in there. And the older couple, one's a boy, one's a girl, and then the younger boy He's like 5 or 6. And there's no parents, as far as I know, in this program. But let's talk about Stillwater first. First of all, before I even talk about either of these shows, I want to say Apple TV Plus, for me, is far and away the best streamer for original kids programming. Like, yes, Netflix has all the shows that are based on movies. You know, they have all the well, actually, not anymore, I guess, because as I reviewed recently, the new Madagascar show and the new Trolls show are both on Hulu and Peacock. So obviously they're diverting a bit from Netflix, but for a while Netflix was the home to all the Peacock, or all the DreamWorks movies turned into TV shows. They did Turbo Fast. They had the original Madagascar show was on there. They had, I think, the original Trolls show too, that's not a DreamWorks movie, but and then they did like a Peabody and Sherman show. So they did all those. But Apple TV Plus, between Snoopy in Space and the Helpsters, which is like the Henson people, the Sesame Street Productions, have done that, which I loved that show. And even like some of the older kids shows, like their Ghost Rider reboot is really good. I think Apple TV Plus is the best network for streaming kids programming. I just do. And here's another 2 great reasons why. So Stillwater, let's talk about that first. So I've already given you the plot of that. And essentially, each episode is 2 15-minute shorts. There's only, I think, 6 episodes up, but I watched 2 of them. This, for me, is one of the best shows of the year, in kids programming or otherwise. One thing that's so great about it is that there's no antagonist, there's no villain. It's not, it's not a typical kids show where you have sort of, an enemy that we're going after. No, this is a lot in the vein of like Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood, where literally, the issues at hand are, I'm having trouble winning my game that I'm trying to play, and it's really frustrating. Or, I built this big rocket ship, out of cardboard and tape and stuff, and I'm convinced that it's going to fly, and then my older brother and sister are like, that's not a real rocket ship, dude. So then I get really upset, And so basically this panda, Stillwater, is all about the Zen life and the Tao and all of that kind of stuff. And that's what, the books are based on, Zen shorts and stuff. And so every quote unquote crisis that comes up, these are crises to obviously children. For example, the one day it's raining and the older kid's real mad about it because all of his plans got ruined, and then he sees Stillwater over in the next yard just sitting in the rain, hanging out, and with no umbrella, and the kid's like, oh, well, that's weird. Like, I'm gonna go over and see if he needs an umbrella, and Stillwater's just like, no, it's a sunny day and it's raining, which means the rain is warm and it feels really good on my coat, and let me tell you what good the rain does, So it's educational, but it's not educational in a way of factual information like you might learn from Sesame Street, for example, or I don't know, maybe even like Dora or Blue's Clues or things like that. It's not quite in that same vein. This is more education about psychology, like education about how to calm yourself down when you're upset, and education about how to look at things differently. It really reminded me of Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood a lot, because I feel like that was a lot of the issues in Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood, was that maybe something didn't go your way that day. Okay, well, let's figure out how we can react differently then to it, that kind of thing. It's excellent. My only real complaint about it would be that it is fairly humorless. There's not a lot of jokes coming at you, which is okay. All kid shows don't need to be funny, but I think there does need to be maybe some sort of element of that to capture kids' attention. So, like, for me, I found this to be very calming and very, a little bit healing too. I've been stuck in my house for 5 days straight because I'm self-quarantining before I go home for Christmas. And, so that certainly can be frustrating at times. Watching this show Stillwater at this time of my week in my 2020 was I thought very very like enlightening. So I really liked that aspect of it. But yeah, there's no real humor to it. But I will say the artistry is beautiful because so the regular scenes like with Stillwater and the kids are in 3D, computer animation, not 3D, but computer animation. But then the stories that he tells, because pretty much every episode he's got a story that will help explain his point. Oh, I knew a person that da 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 da. Stillwater knows everybody, I guess, but he always has a story, and the stories then, as he's telling them, are animated in 2D, and they're gorgeous. So, look, even though it's a little bit devoid of humor, let's say, I think this is a show that everybody should see, kids and adults alike. I think they'll both get something out of it, honestly. One of my nephews is, I guess he's 8 now, but he definitely has some issues with, being upset about stuff and being overly sensitive and crying a lot and da 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 da. I feel like a show like this could really help him, maybe not in the moment see some perspective, but watching it might make him think when he's in the moment, let me think about what Stillwater, told those kids. I think this is a great show. It's easily one of the best of the year for me. I give it an A. And then you've got Doug Unplugs, which, not quite on that same level, but is also, as the Apple TV kids shows are very, very good. So Doug Unplugs is about this robot boy named Doug, and he's super cute, and he basically has these robot parents, and it comes from this robot place that they do like reboots of things, which is basically recycling, and so they'll bring the rebooted whatever, like in the first episode the girl loses a ping pong ball, so they go and get a new ping pong ball to her because they work in plastics and all that stuff. So he meets this girl on the first mission to do the ping pong ball, and they become friends. And so now every episode, I guess, he's gonna come down and hang with her and do something. She plays Emma. And it's all kid voices for the children. But then you've got Mae Whitman, who is voicing the mom, Becky Becky Bot, Becky Bot, and then the dad. Okay, so I was convinced that the dad was Eugene Levy. Just vocally, it just sounded so much like Eugene Levy. It's not. It's this guy Eric Bauza, Bauza, and I was unfamiliar. So I'm like, okay, well, why does this guy sound so much like Eugene Levy? What else has he done? He plays Doug's dad. And oh my gosh, he has done voice work in like literally any animated kids show that's been on in the last like 10, 15 years. I mean, just to go down some of the recent ones on his IMDb. Well, first of all, he's going to be Bugs Bunny, Daffy Duck, and Tweety in the new Space Jam, among a couple others. So, okay, that's, right there, that's your resume. But he does Fozzie and a bunch of characters on Muppet Babies. He is on DuckTales. He does a bunch of the Beagle Boys and some of the other people. He voiced Woody Woodpecker in the 2018 Woody Woodpecker show. Let's see. He does Miles Morales in the Spider-Man video game. Fast and Furious Spy Racers on Netflix, he's done a couple voices for. Star Trek Lower Decks, Unikitty, Rise of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, he voices Splinter and like 15 other characters. The Rocketeer, this is just from the last 2 years worth of stuff. So this guy, I don't know why he's not a household name yet. I never heard of him, but he's in this. He sounds like Eugene Levy, and I was trying to even picture how is this dude gonna sound like Daffy Duck? But look, obviously he's very, very talented. So anyway, so the voice work here is great. There's fun little songs in each episode. This one as well, like Stillwater, like a lot of the Nickelodeon and Disney Junior shows, have 15-minute episodes. That to comprise 1/2 hour episode. So this one, there's little songs. The second part of the first episode was there was a library, and Doug and this girl wanted to go help them volunteer, and oh, what's a volunteer? So then they sing a song about what a volunteer is. It's a catchy as heck song. The people in this show are really adorable. They're drawn very cutely. Mae Whitman is good in everything. She can even play a convincing mom robot. And it's not like they're not doing the robot voice like Rosie from the Jetsons. They're just doing everyday voices, but they look like robots, and they are robots. Here's another one where I think it's teaching kids good lessons. This one does have a little bit of humor in it, not a ton, but some. I think enough. I think the balance of humor and education is good, and the education is a little bit more on the let's educate you on a subject. So in the first episode, we actually learn a little bit about the history of ping pong, its origins, what it used to be called, whatever. And then we learn in the second half about what a volunteer is and what you can do to volunteer and all that stuff. So I think these are both great shows. I leave Doug Unplugged with a B+, or Unplugs, I should say. But Apple, if you have young kids, Apple TV Plus, I'm telling you, it's $5 a month, and it's got by far the best original children's programming, I think. So, all right, that's it. That'll do it. I'm going to try and get 2 more TV news and review shows in before the end of the year. One of them, I guess, will just be kind of a best and worst of the year show at that point. But we'll try to get that out before New Year's. If it happens, it happens. If not, no big deal. But there's only a couple of more shows to actually review. I think Disney Plus just had one go up a couple days ago. And I know there's a few that I've been talking about that I want to get to before year's end. Noughts and Crosses is one of them on Peacock. I've been talking about that for weeks. And I actually started, I watched 20 minutes of the first episode, and then I just never caught up with it. So I want to definitely, figure that out. And you can you can hear my cat in the background jumping on things. I'm about to wrap it up, Snowball. Let's calm down. All right, so that's it. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time. Bye.